Good afternoon. This is Mike with Leaving People Better, and I'm excited to start our weekly reading of Leaving People Better. The purpose of this is really to start the week off on the right foot. I've wanted to go through this with my own family, and I've gone through some of it, but I wanted to really take our time and go through each fingertip. There's 50 individual blog type style fingertips. They're short and sweet, to the point, but they're the best of the best of what I've learned in working with families over the past 20 years. A lot of people have asked me if this book is an audiobook form, and it is not. And so this is a way to extract out one section a week over the next 50 weeks as part of our annual goal here with Leaving People Better. And so we're excited to start the introduction and the first fingertip today. So we created an infographic using the hand on how we can better our commitments within 5 seconds, our relationships within 5 minutes, our frustrations within 5 hours, our habits within 5 weeks, and how to better our purpose with a 5-year plan. So each finger has meaning, but then there's 10 fingertips with an action item for each of these individual fingers. And so the first section is specifically the pointer finger, ways we can better ourselves with a 5-year plan. Let's jump right into the introduction for the pointer finger. Again, finding purpose, finding our why, having a 5-year plan. So let me share with you how creating your why in life can assist you with a 5-year plan. I can still recall the last time I spoke with him over the phone. I was attempting to sleep on my single mattress on the floor of the residential boarding school for troubled youth where I worked. The hallway emergency lights above my head kept me up most nights. I had just dozed off when my cell phone rang about 1 in the morning. It was Connor. Connor was a student who graduated from our school several weeks before. When he had arrived at our school, it was his 9th program or treatment center. He had arrived with 0.5 credits of high school, half a year's worth of pre-algebra. Yet he was 17 and turned 18 while at our school. His resistance to change was high, and I admit I questioned at times whether he'd be open to change. Connor would argue back and forth with his mother and me on the importance of getting an education and creating more for his future. One day, with his mother's love and support, Connor decided to turn on an internal switch unlike any I had witnessed before. In a 10-month period, and on a self-paced high school computer program, he completed 23.5 credits of high school. He had made the decision to turn his life around and graduated with honors from both high school as well as the character building program. It was a modern-day miracle I felt privileged to be a part of. I was as close to and as proud of Connor as any student I had ever worked with. The phone call that night would be the last time I'd speak with him. I could tell in Connor's voice that he was lost. He had relapsed hard into an old addiction. He expressed his desire to change, but struggled to see a way out of the hole he had dug himself into. I recognized that he was under the influence of substances and could hear a relative in the background participating in the addiction with him. I said what I could over the phone, wondering how much of it was getting through. A part of me thought to get in my car and drive 5 hours to get him out of that environment, even though I didn't have a plan of what to do next. A few weeks later, my family and I were on vacation in Cancun, Mexico. I sat on the white sandy beach as my wife and kids played in the ocean when I opened my email on my phone. It was then that I read from Connor's mother that my dear friend Connor had overdosed and passed away. To make matters worse, the funeral would take place while we were in Mexico. As I looked over the beautiful blue ocean, I had a mixture of emotions flowing through me. There was a new hole in my heart as I reminisced on all the achievements and the many heart-to-heart discussions that Connor and I shared. I pondered over what could I have done differently. As my children collected seashells on the shore, I recalled the poem of the starfish, quote, "One day, an old man was walking down the beach just before dawn. In the distance, he saw a young man picking up stranded starfish and throwing them back into the sea. As the old man approached the young man, he asked, 'Why do you spend so much time doing what seems to be a waste of time?' The young man explained that the stranded starfish would die if left in the morning sun. The old man exclaimed, "But there must be thousands of starfish. How can your efforts make any difference?" The young man looked down at the starfish in his hand, and as he threw it safely into the sea, he said, "It makes a difference to this one." Unquote. I share this example with you as it took something as tragic as this for me to realize what I wanted to do when I grew up. I was 35 years old before coming to the realization that there was a passion deep down inside of me, a purpose, a why, as to what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. That experience helped lead me to the establishment of Leaving People Better. We refer to the pointer finger as our why in life. It is a constant reminder to point us to where we want to see ourselves in the future. Many people don't have a 5-year plan, and there's a reason for that. When there isn't a definiteness of purpose or a why in one's life, it's difficult to see past the week or month in front of us, let alone to see 5 years into the future. The following are 10 pointer finger tips. Each is a way you can leave yourself and others better with a 5-year plan. Now, at this point, I want for you to take a pause, and if you don't have a notebook, you'll see it says before you proceed to the 10 fingertips for the pointer finger, make sure you have your own personal notebook for yourself. If you're doing this process with others, be sure that they have their own as well. To internalize the Leaving People Better process, you will want to keep record of everything you're about to do. Trust me. Okay, so now that we have an introduction into the pointer finger and our why, our purpose in life with a 5-year plan, let's talk this week just about pointer finger tip number 1, which is entitled 13 years from now. Time can become one of our greatest obstacles as we pursue our ambitions in life. Our upbringing, our life experiences, and how we view time may greatly hurt us in the long run. We live in an ever-changing world where patience was once highly regarded as one of life's greatest virtues. Society and the media continue to point towards an on-demand and impatient reality for our lives. As a reputable medical doctor, Russell Nelson would often get asked by young adults how long it took him to become a doctor of medicine. He replied with, "The general pattern would be 4 years at a university, followed by 4 years in medical school. And should you choose to specialize, that could add another 5 years or more." My words would often evoke a response like, "You mean, why, that adds up to 13 years and maybe more? That's too long for me." "That all depends," I would respond. Preparation for your career is not too long if you know what you want to do with your life. How old will you be 13 years from now if you don't pursue your education? Just as old, whether or not you become what you want to be. When I first heard that it took him 13 years to become a doctor of medicine, I must admit that this would have been too long for me as well. However, my passion and desire for my life isn't to become a doctor of medicine. His words of wisdom planted a seed that helped me to fulfill my dream to bring Leaving People Better into fruition. I applied his feedback and made the choice that I did not care how long it would take to finish what I had started. I also realized that once I finished the first phase of Leaving People Better, it was only the beginning, with more to come thereafter. In 3 years from the time I launched Leaving People Better, I will be 40 years old. What do I want to be able to say about my life when I'm 40? How about 13 years from now when I'm 50? If I decided to, I could become a doctor of medicine in that time. There's nothing to stop me from making that a reality. Everywhere I go, I see people whose body language clearly communicates that they're unhappy with the direction of their life. Many people have an idea or thought of what they want to be when they grow up. Many have told me what they would do differently if money weren't an issue, or if an opportunity would simply present itself. However, they did not position themselves to attain what they want in life. Is it any wonder why they're not there? Whether it's 5 years from now or 50, we must see time in terms of getting what we want, instead of a stumbling block that's always in the way. Otherwise, we will fall short of the best versions of ourselves, with no one to blame but the person that stares back at us in the mirror. We will age, whether we become what we want or not. How many of us don't pursue our life's passions for fear of never getting there? How many times have we looked back on life just to realize that not only are we not where we want to be, but we scratch our heads in wonderment as we ponder over what we did with all of this time, with little to nothing to show for it? Wouldn't it make sense to spend our time with a purpose? I invite you to view time in a different light, where each tick moves you closer to who you want to become. Take action. Whatever phase of life you are currently at, ask yourself where you want to see yourself in 5 years. Do not limit your possibilities. If you realize that what you want will take longer than 5 years, then drill down on what percentage of your overall plan can be accomplished within the next 5 years. Once you've identified what you want to accomplish, take out your Leaving People Better journal and back-end engineer what needs to take place. This means starting with the end in mind and asking yourself, what would I do just before this to make it happen? Then repeat the question with that step until you get to where you are today. Work your way backwards to today and get a clear picture of what needs to happen to get to your goal. Plan your work and then start to work your plan. Parents or adults, what an incredible way to work with your children or grandchildren at any age. Help them to expand their minds and ask them what they want to become and achieve. Back-end engineer the process with them and help them understand how a 5-year plan can help them fulfill their purpose and dreams. Feel free to reach out on social media for ideas or suggestions on how to do this within our community. Thank you for listening in. This has been the Pointer Fingertip number 1, 13 years from now. Next week, we're going to be talking about Pointer Fingertip number 2, Become an Expert. And just to recap with Pointer Fingertip number 1, 13 years from now, the whole goal is to help you to start to think about what it is that you want your life to look like 5 years from now. And if you don't have a huge plan or a huge vision of that just quite yet, guess what? That's totally fine. Part of Leaving People Better is to continuously grow throughout this process. Even if you can just come up with one idea, one thing in your mind that you would like to say about yourself 5 years from now, that is a great place to start, and we will help get there. So again, hopefully you'll join us next Sunday as we post Pointer Fingertip number 2 on Become an Expert. Lastly, as we go through this, if you realize that something doesn't apply, feel free to set it aside and come back and join us again next week. Again, we've got 50 individual fingertips on how to better ourselves with our frustrations, our relationships, our habits, our purpose, our commitments. And Leaving People Better is just about that, helping people to find the best versions of themselves. And again, this is first and foremost, I want to do this with me and my family, but I also want to encourage friends and family and people from all over the world to participate in this free reading of Leaving People Better. And so hope you have a great week. We do have 2 other sections on our YouTube channel where we talk about correction, ways to help ourselves through self-reliance and financial freedom, and connection, ways that we can unite our family with others through service. And we would invite you to participate with us wherever you'd like. And please feel free to pass along to your friends and family and make it a great day.